back to the show. What fun we're having this morning. And my first guest is an author, composer, performer, singer, and comedian who has taken it upon himself to write a book explaining China. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome, a real thrill for me to have him here, Steve Allen.
Mine or yours?
That's yours. Help yourself.
Okay.
What do you want to do?
Well, the first thing I should do, I was struck, as we say.
Oh, no.
I was struck, yes, by a stagehand on the way out. No, I was struck by your introduction of this picture into evidence, Your Honor.
Yes.
This was the man who was doing research into how ducks make out.
That's right.
Actually, this picture does not substantiate the thesis. This is foreplay. And we are not permitted on television, at least at this time, to do anything much now that I think of it.
Let me, I'm real excited you're here this morning.
Well, then I'll be running along. There should be no excitement at 10 in the morning.
Here, have one of those. You ever use one of those?
Oh, yeah.
Give that a shot.
Well, I did star in the Benny Goodman story.
Yeah?
So who's better qualified than to play one of these? There's only one finger hole.
That's all you need.
Yeah.
That's all you need.
What does it say on there? Made in Japan. It's interesting. What is this?
Well, give it a shot.
Call for Elizabeth Taylor.
Let me see. I want to ask you about The Tonight Show. You started the whole thing. You're the reason we got a desk here. You're the reason that talk shows are what they are today. What was that like, the very first Tonight Show?
We had no idea that it was, going to go on and be a 27-year thing. It was just, as in the case with your own show, you're just trying to be funny each day, and that was all we ever thought of. As a matter of fact, you can't even look back at it with any great attention, because the network burned, as you probably have heard, just about all the old kinescope film it had, running from about 1949 to about 1956 or so. So all those 3 years are gone.
Yeah. Does that bother you that that's just...
Well, I'm so busy right now, it doesn't. But as soon as my schedule slacks up a little bit, I'll get bothered again by that, yeah.
Hey, you did the original Tonight Show for 5 years, right?
3 years.
3 years.
It seemed like 5.
And then Jack Parr did it for...
5 years.
5 years.
Seemed like 3.
And then Mr. Carson has done it now for 18 years.
Yeah.
You were the shortest one of the bunch, so to speak, in terms of years. Why did you leave it after 3?
Well, they asked me to do, and I did, a primetime comedy show, and I thought I could do both at the same time, and for a while I did, but I couldn't do justice to either or both. So I realized that in primetime I had about 10 times as many people watching, and the salary was 8 times as large. So it was an easy decision to make.
Yeah, that's not a great deal of thought involved.
To which to give up.
Yeah. What about, now the show that I remember mostly and love a great deal is the Westinghouse show.
In the early 60s.
Yeah, and it seemed to me that you're always doing very peculiar things on that show.
Yes, when the writers should have been writing jokes for me, they were concocting plots on my life, I think. Some of those things were actually dangerous, and I was, upon occasion, moderately injured and frequently scared as hell.
Was one of them the human tea bag? Were you near... Tell them about the human tea bag.
There was no physical danger in being the human tea bag, only hideous embarrassment. But I was attired as I am at the moment. In fact, this is the same suit. I knew it was still a little more. No, the whole point was to be dressed like a gentleman of some kind, and then have to... I was covered with little tea bags. I had to jump into about 89 gallons of hot water. Imagine a grown man.
Yeah.
That's when I started groaning, as a matter of fact.
During all of that, did your kids say, you come home from the show and you say, geez, Dad, a human tea bag, lay off, will you?
They refused to speak to me for those 3 years.
One of the things that I remember vividly, and one of the things that I just loved, and in fact we did a version of it here one day, you put a camera outside and you just look at the folks walking by.
Yeah.
And I guess you did that the first.
Yeah, in fact, we did it last Saturday. I'm doing, as you know, some comedy things for NBC right now, and we did that as part of the show. And I loved your version of it, which was brilliantly creative. I saw it, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks ago, where you shot the people on the street and then referred to it as a fashion show.
We had a fashion
That
parade,
was really funny.
Now,
Great stuff.
we have a camera this morning down on, I believe, 6th Avenue, unless it's been stolen. Oh, there it is. If you don't mind, could you just comment? Do you need a little piano with this, Steve?
Yes.
Okay.
At least it helps. You know, the great value of the piano is otherwise people notice the silences. And there's a man who seems to have heard what I just said. He's smiling. He's not too bright. He doesn't know the war's over. He's still tearing up his draft card. Ah. It's brisk out today.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why people look purposeful. Where is that, 6th and... Oh, it's icy. It's right near the...
Yeah, it's just looking at Rockefeller, or Radio City Music Hall.
Yeah. There's old White Pants again.
You know, I always thought that this would make great late-night TV. You just let this thing go.
Seriously, one of my fantasies is having my own TV station in, you know, Terre Haute, Indiana or someplace, and doing stuff like that. Well, I think you could also have a family that would come out at midnight and just spend the night on television. I don't mean entertain. I just mean, you know, go to bed, brush their teeth.
Hi.
Hi, sweetheart. You know, the great thing about this, as you perceive, David, is you don't really have to say anything very witty. It's the people, the situation, the reality that's funny.
Very entertaining. Very entertaining. We have to pause for a commercial. With any luck at all, we'll be back, though. His most recent book, Explaining China, which we'll get to in a second.
So hurry. I appreciate your doing that, you know, because you go on some shows, and literally the hosts do this. No names, please. They say, Steve Allen has a new book, and I think that's my book plug, you know.
Here's something else you may be interested in. Monday, the game show started, and they've already started loading up some of the equipment. There you go.
However, I do it, speaking of the world of game shows, I have some sad news. Johnny Olson, who, you know, has been on a lot of them over the years, he's now working out in Los Angeles with the ASPCA. Whenever there's a cat stuck up in a tree, he yells, "Come on down!" Very sad. Yeah.
Presidents for 20, Art. No, I'm sorry.
You have a great audience here.
Yeah, the audience is very nice here.
Great audience. And they are, you know, applauding for themselves. The interesting thing about them is not that they're just a good audience, which is nice, you know, selfishly speaking for us, but they are all of a type. They're all hip young people out of work.
I can sort of relate to that. Now, you brought some videotape from the old show that we alluded to, and do you mind taking a look at this with us?
No, I have nothing else to do in the next few minutes.
All right, this is, do you know what we're going to look at? It's the...
Somebody mentioned the human kite.
Human kite. This is, now, this was an opening to one of your shows.
Yeah, this was how it was every night. Typically, I did some stupid thing of this sort, and I was quite prepared to fly on this occasion, but I had difficulty getting airborne.
So this, take a look at the monitors. Mr. Steve Allen flying.
This is your captain speaking. We're about to take off from La Mirada Airport, and we will be flying at a height of about 5.5 inches over the Hollywood Ranch Market, and past Kay's Coffee Shop, and directly into the Los Angeles General Hospital. How do you like it? I guess we're about ready to go. John, I'll give you the glasses if I may. We'll back up here. wing burns. Okay, let it rip.
Oh, brother. There was, I recall, and I don't mean to dwell on it, but I do mean to dwell on it, is I love this stuff that you had one time yourself covered with ants and then some ant-eaters released.
Yes.
Or was that just a date?
No, it was something a couple of my uncles dreamed up, actually. No, all seriousness aside, I was in a sketch, I think with, I don't know, Pat Harrington Jr., and I was wearing a pith helmet and Stuart Granger wardrobe, and I was spread eagled. If you've ever had your eagle spread, you know how painful that is. Anyway, I was helpless, prone, prostrate at the same time. And then some guy came out with a jar full of real big ants and poured them all over me. And I couldn't do anything about that. And then they brought out an anteater. And he ate the ants off me. Weird. Listen, don't knock it until you've tried it. That's going to be one of the most exciting moments of my life.
We have to take another short break, and then we'll come back and continue. And that's the sound of music? No, it's not the sound of music.
That's really what you call toe-tapping music. Whenever I hear that music, I take out a small hammer and tap my toes, just ad infinitum.
Now, you've got to serious up here. You brought this book. Let's talk about the book. Explaining China. I started reading this yesterday. Voluminous.
Yes.
And tell me all about it. We have 2 minutes. Tell me all about this voluminous book.
Well, first of all, if I may point out that the title Explain China has quotation marks around it. The point of that is it would take 1,000 books to explain China. It has a 5,000-year history. It's larger than the United States. Almost 1 billion people, and who could explain that in one book? But I take a shot at it.
What do you do there? What was it like? How long were you there? Answer any of those questions.
Well, the food is still great. You put on weight. That's one thing you do there. And you learn a lot. You don't go to China for the same reasons that you might go to Vegas, you know? But since everything you see there is unlike the stuff you're used to seeing, you spend all day going, wow, look at that.
Yeah.
Imagine this. You know?
Is it... like when you go to a new city, it's stimulating. Is it the same experience with China?
Yes, it's truly a learning experience. And if you plan to go there, as millions are now trying to do, read something first. I don't care if you read this book, but do read something first. Otherwise, it will be very strange to you.
Is it? Are they friendly?
Yes.
The Chinese?
Well, the Chinese of the political left or right have thousands of years practice at being wonderful hosts, and you'll be given the most cordial welcome.
Mm-hmm. And I read recently where the posters and so forth are now being removed, and it's a less political atmosphere
yes,
than
it
used
is.
to be, huh?
The boundaries of freedom are being enlarged. By no means as free as Cleveland, but a lot freer than they were there just a few years ago. As a matter of fact, there were some just little pictures we brought along here. We don't have time to go into the whole thing. Which is your best camera for a close-up? Right here? Whatever. This is, there it is. This is my son Bill standing near a no loitering sign in the Forbidden City. He was forbidden to stand there any longer. That's why they called it that. Anyway, that's one picture. Then here we have, in this, sorry, on this I'm conducting a class in smiling. Seem to be the only one having a good time there. And this is Jane's mother's and father's church. This picture was taken probably about 1930. That's their church in the background behind the high wall, St. Andrew's in Wuchang. And, somebody in a parka. It's Nancy Parker, ladies and gentlemen. That's
back to the show. Our special guest this morning is Mr. Steve Allen. First of all, let me apologize for dumping on you like that. I knew nothing about it.
Not at all. No problem. As a matter of fact, on your head, that becomes you. It took Johnny 18 years to get like that, and you made it in about 20 minutes.
Anyway, I want to thank you very much for being here, Steve.
Thank you, David.
I've been a big fan of yours forever, and...
it's mutual, and I hope you'll come on my show soon.
I would love to do it. The book, the most recent book, Explaining Science, by Steve Allen. Very nice man, and I appreciate his sense of being a good sport. I, however, am steamed about this whole development. Well, welcome back to the show. Coming up later in this half hour, dog trainers Warren and Faye Eckstein will be here with what I believe is going to be a fascinating display. They got a great dog. He's a black Labrador, is that correct? And real interesting. You know, Halloween is just around the corner, but then again, what isn't just around the corner, huh? And all the stores are featuring this year's Halloween merchandise. We thought we'd like to take a look at some of the popular trends in Halloween wear this year. We went out shopping and found a few little devices. First of all, this little article. Here's something that a lot of you ladies will want to rush out and buy. According to the advertisement, as seen on TV, you look 1,000 years old in minutes. For all of us who are trying to speed up the aging process. Okay. Number 2, oh, this is nice. Oh, this is cute. This is the badly battered, brutally bruised, bashed, and bloody digit. For age 8 and over. 7-year-olds are generally too sensitive, and I understand you actually have to show proof of age to buy one of these things. This is useful for the kid who wants to dress up as an emergency room patient. This is sort of nice. A freak beak. Says it's easy to apply and comfortable. How many of your own noses just aren't as comfortable as you'd like them to be, huh? And again, you must be 8 and over. Let me try this on and see. Well, that is comfortable. Put a little snow in this, huh? No. Okay. A joke? No, forget it. Hold it. We're just joking around here. You start doing that kind of stuff and you get yourself canceled, so... wait a minute, hold
it. Number 2 tape recorder talking to number 1 tape recorder. Want to be sure I get it? Kings of Comedy, Chapter 5. You got that, Dawn? Chapter 5. With Curly's retirement in 1947, the Three Stooges faced a new crisis.
Telegram from Mr. Allen.
Telegram? Oh, thank you, sir. Hold the tape recorders. Wait just a minute. What's it say? 4 desperate members of the Malabese Liberation Army are holding the Turkish ambassador hostage. They have one non-negotiable demand. They want to speak to Steve Allen. Signed, T. Felt. Okay. Hello, operator. Get me turkey. And while you're at it, get some for yourself. Just a second, Bob. Hello. Wow. Is this the Malabese Liberation Army? Actually? It is? Well, I have one thing to say to you guys. Schmuck!
30 seconds to air.
30 seconds to air? Okay, fine. Bob, just a second. I'll tell you what. I'm sorry, operator. I was talking to somebody else. Wait a minute. Tell Dave to go out and do a joke about, any little thing, the destruction of the universe, right. Something like that. And then tell him to go to the desk and waste some time with letters from viewers, do a commercial, and then introduce me. Well, I'll finish this tune. Okay, cue the theme. I'm coming out. David?
Thank you very much. Thank you, Paul. Welcome back to Woodstock, ladies and gentlemen. What fun we're having. My first guest, a fine composer, a musician, actor, author, and a pioneer, in the type of television we're doing now. It says here, please welcome Steve Allen. Nice to see you, sir.
Thank you. It's nice to be seen.
Thank you very much for being here. I certainly appreciate it. This time slot is now an hour later than the one that you started in, isn't it?
So it would appear, yes.
What I meant by that was the original Tonight Show came on here at 11:30.
Yes, live. As a matter of fact, at one point we were starting at 11:15 because it had been a local show before it was a network show, and we still had to do 50 minutes of that and then the 90 minutes, which adds up to a lot of minutes.
Now, what did you do before the Tonight Show? How did you get the job?
I had done essentially the same sort of things on CBS for 3 or 4 years, and for CBS in radio in Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm. Now, what was occupying that space before the Tonight Show came on?
There was a show called Broadway Open House, and before that, I don't know. I wasn't in New York before that.
Mm-hmm. And what kinds of things were you doing? Because everybody says to you, Steve Allen is the one who started this particular form.
That's just because I did it first.
Mm-hmm.
Seriously. If you had done it first, you would have done that same kind of stuff.
But what were you doing? You had a...
Sort of like what you do here. I would go out with the studio audience with a hand mic sometimes and talk to people. I would read letters, as you just did, from... as a matter of fact, you're under arrest. No, it would... Sometimes, seriously, people say, you know, hey, you did that stuff, and then other people did. It was actually because I was there first, because I think everybody would have gotten around to the same general kinds of things on this loose show.
Mm-hmm. And we have some press releases that I inadvertently left in my office. Oh, here they are now. Speaking of inadvertent.
Press releases of what?
Hot off the press. About the original Tonight Show, and I wanted to ask you a couple of questions about the show. First here makes reference to your band leader, Skitch Henderson.
Yes.
And it said that he had grown a beard that became a fad among college boys, and they called their beards Skitchers.
That has never previously been brought to my attention, but I have no reason to contest the...
Talk about being under arrest. Also, Gene Rayburn had hepatitis.
Yes, I recall that.
Yeah, he's better now. But he says that on page 2. But he did the weather.
Yes, I must explain that. The show was an enormous hit during its first year, during which, I repeat, it was a local program. It was a smash. And because it was a smash, the NBC people said, we must put this fine program on the network. So I said, fine, who's going to stop you? And then they said, however, we think we should make a few changes. And I said, changes in a hit? And they said, yes. I said, what do you have in mind? Because you should always keep your mind open. Mm-hmm. Now, the show was 90 minutes of rip-roaring comedy, right? And that's why they wanted to put it on the network. So they said, well, we thought a nice weather report. That's true. I said, you mean a musical weather report? A musical report with naked women, something?
Yeah.
They said, no, just a straight weather report.
That's so strange.
Yeah, and believe it or not, for a few weeks, they actually had a weather report which would stop everything in its tracks.
Yeah, yeah.
And then they finally got embarrassed and stopped that.
So you were actually lucky that Rayburn came down with hepatitis.
Yeah, in the long run, it turned out that way. They had another thing they insisted on having was ski condition reports.
Yeah.
Now, not even today very many Americans ski, statistically speaking. And in 1954, there were about 9 skiers in the whole country.
Yeah. It's valuable for places like Oklahoma, Kansas, that area. We're going to interrupt here, and perhaps we'll be back.
With a ski report.
Yeah, with a ski report. Hi, and welcome back to the proceedings. You, of course, know Mr. Steve Allen. Before we go on, do we have some fascinating footage from one of your other old shows? You're the only guest who has ever brought his own noisemakers, and I certainly appreciate that.
Well, the least I can do. As a matter of fact, there are more here than noisemakers. I do impressions. I don't know if that's ever been brought to your attention.
No, it has not.
Would you like to see one?
I certainly would.
All right. That will require a close-up of the table surface in this area. And as soon as I see a close-up, I'll go into my first impression, ladies and gentlemen. You ready? Okay. My impression of Claude Rains in The Invisible Man, ladies and gentlemen.
That's amazing. Truly
Magic
amazing.
Club.
Now, do you actually, as a grown human adult, do you travel with these things?
Yes,
Yeah?
yes.
Do you pull them out in other occasions?
Rarely, but there was a reason, a rationale of why we did that originally. I happened to be present when television first started to get dirty. Television now is dirty. Occasionally there's a little clean stuff on it, but not too often. And when I first noticed that happening, I thought, I must take a position against this. You must fight the whatever.
Fight the filth.
Yeah, so that's good.
Thank you.
Fight the filth. So anyway, I had a police whistle at one time, but a policeman stole it, which is another problem. And then when anybody would say anything off color, I'd go, here now.
That's
and,
right.
And if something was really raunchy, I would lay a little on them.
Yeah, yeah.
But that sounded like I was approving it, so that didn't work out too well.
Well, it's wonderful work, and I'm proud to be associated with the man who's doing it. Now, your other, the show that I, of course, remember and am still a large fan of, and as I told you, I spent a lot of my day watching old videotapes of this, was a show done for Westinghouse and syndicated all over the United
62,
States.
63, 64, yes.
And the thing that caused, to this day, you say the most comment and discussion is you getting into a vat of...
Yes, it's weird when I am accosted by young men in the street. I am frequently accosted by young men. Not, unfortunately, very few young women. But they very often bring up the night that I jumped into Jell-O or the night I was covered with tea bags and was dumped into a big vat of hot water.
Right, and we have the Jell-O epic here on videotape. Take a look at the monitors. Mr. Steve Allen, fully suited.
This does not require talent. This is just embarrassing.
Thank you very much. Good evening. Well, as those of you know who have been watching the show for the last year or so, we have done a lot of peculiar stunts on the program at one time or another, but I think tonight we're going to top them all, and this may be the last one we'll ever do, too. You see here what the gang has whipped up for me tonight. I guess everybody has always wondered what it would feel like to jump into a pool full of gelatin, right? I don't want to go in. I want my mommy. And all the big boys jump in. I want to go home and go to bed. I don't want to go in. You're not going to push me in, Jim. Put your face to the front. And hand in your notice at the back, too. I'll try to go under, but I don't know if I can. Hey!
Truly a great moment in American broadcasting. We'll be right back with Steve Allen. There. Not only did you jump into the Jell-O, I thought the suit was a nice touch.
That was what we used to call my Hong Kong suit. I had bought some cheap suits in Hong Kong, nice but cheap, and I knew I was in trouble physically when they would come to the dressing room before the show and say, put on a Hong Kong suit.
Yeah,
that meant I was going to be covered with chocolate sauce or
Yeah.
something.
It's amazing. It looks like it must have been disgusting.
It was truly revolting.
Yeah, yeah.
Or icky, as we say.
And we do say icky, and we have to pause here for station identification. We'll be back to say many, many more things. Hi there. Welcome back to the show, or extravaganza, as it's rapidly becoming known, Steve Allen. Now, as an adult, well, you were an adult then, but would you be jumping into Jell-O these days?
I would not consider it beneath my dignity. Anything for a laugh is my motto.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah. What can I tell you? No, I don't know. There must be something that would be beneath my dignity. But there is a separate part of me that is a basically Jell-O jumping something.
Yeah, there's something about watching you jump into a vat of Jell-O that makes it seem okay. Whereas I can think of other folks getting into Jell-O and you'd go, oh, this is cartoon time.
It's too silly if Jerry Lewis jumped into Jell-O, you mean?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I see what you
Or
mean.
Rosalind Carter, even. It wouldn't work. And she used to be one of the best.
That's true. But it's my Eric Severide side that makes it seem inappropriate for me to be jumping into Jell-O, and hence...
Now,
I'm sorry.
This is going to be one of the most awkward transitions anyone has ever made in North American television, but I'm going to do it nonetheless. This book that you have recently authored, Beloved Son, A Story of the Jesus Cults. What can you tell us of this work?
Well, I can tell you it's for sale. In bookstores all across...
Cut that out.
all across this great land of ours, as you were saying. No, it is a serious book, although there are some laughs in it, largely because I relate some of the amusing things that my son Brian, who is now an adult of 35, said when he was growing up. He used to say funny things. And about 11 years ago, seriously, I got a letter from my son telling me that he had changed his name and had joined a religious community and was turning his back on the world, which we assumed meant us, and at that time which did. So the book is the story of the last 11 years of our relationship and how it has evolved. And then I draw back and take a broader view of many of the religious cults, as they're called.
Now, this was a common experience for a lot of people, and may still be.
It still is, yes. Thousands of families are affected. Brian's group happens to be a rather small one, only maybe 250 or 300 people, but there are large groups, the Scientologists, the Hare Krishna, the Moonies, and so forth, Children of God.
Yeah, and that must have been a devastation for you at the time, huh?
Well, the part of it that hurt was his, as I say, saying goodbye to us, and apparently permanently, although that turned out not to be the case, fortunately. We took no real exception on principle to his religious conversion. We are a Christian family ourselves, and we knew nothing about his religion, so we could be neither for it or against it in the early stages. But it's too long to go into here. But anyway, that's what the book deals with.
Yeah, okay. And you're at Michael's Pub in New York City for anyone planning a vacation.
Yes, for those of you who do. Well, actually, there's no sense plugging that. I don't think you can get in. I'm only there for 3 more nights and they're sold out. But it's been more fun than I've had doing anything in a long time.
Terrific.
Just playing jazz and having a lot of fun.
Fist fights, a lot of drinking?
Oh, yeah. Several people pass out cold in the men's room every night. Great fun.
I'm always excited to be with you anywhere, and I appreciate you being here with us tonight.
My pleasure.
And if you want to hang around, we're going to introduce a brand new hot property here for NBC, if I can find the correct card. I guess I have it right here. When you work in television, people always say to you, you ought to do a show about where I work. Boy, the crazy things that go on down there. With that in mind, we went down to the NBC mailroom here in the RCA building on the 2nd floor to put together a promo for a show that might just be able to pull NBC out of its mid-season ratings slump. If you like the police department antics of Barney Miller and the newspaper world intrigue of Lou Grant, you're in for a real treat this fall when you meet the wacky bunch on Mailroom. You'll meet Jim, the manager of the entire mailroom.
I'm the manager of the entire mailroom.
And Rose, who's always up to something.
Someone could be looking for a letter, and you have to search for it, or somebody might be looking for some package that came in.
And Frank, a mailroom veteran who knows the city like a book.
I live in the city, so I know the city like a book.
That's right, the fun begins when Jim, a likable young newcomer, joins the staff.
It's my first week here. I wrote a song about it this week, too.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Too bad we don't have time for it, but there'll be plenty of time each week on Mailroom.
You gotta start somewhere. You gotta start sometime. You gotta start somewhere, sometime. So I'm starting out in the mailroom.
We fool around. I mean, this is not a, I have to take the job real serious.
Gonna work my way from the bottom to the top. Yes, I'm starting out in the mailroom.
Yes, we think you're going to like life at the bottom with this kooky bunch on Mailroom.
Oh, everybody's really good. I really like everybody.
There's never a dull moment and plenty of romance.
I'm a married guy. I don't want to get in no trouble.
We had a wild guy who had wild hair. We're like a caveman. That's about the most exciting thing that happened in the mailroom so far.
Talk about excitement on the NBC hit series Mailroom.
Actually, this is not my job. I'm too short for this.
Got any stamps left over? And you know, once I get started, I won't stop.
And neither will the laughs on Mailroom, cause everybody's funny.
There's nobody actually funny. Everybody just got a good sense of humor.
That's Mailroom, Mondays at 9, right after Little House.
This is
Mark that down in your TV guys. We'll be right back with filmmaker Howard Smith. We have a fine program for you tonight. Carol Leifer is here, and also my first guest is going to come out here and help me sort these cards. I have way too many things. It's very difficult to pin a title on my next guest. He's so agreeable. He's an author, actor, composer, musician, and television pioneer. He is currently staging and starring in a musical revue called Seymour Glick is Alive and Sick, which opens on September 20th at the St. Regis Hotel here in New York, New York. Please give him a warm welcome, Mr. Steve Allen. Thank you very much for being here. And you tell me about Seymour Glick is Alive and Sick. What exactly have we got here?
Well, we have a wrong title.
All right, let's do some
Seymour
correcting.
Glick is alive, but sick.
Oh, I see. So the and should be taken out and
The butt put in.
replaced with a but, which is usually not a bad idea.
Yeah.
Now, what is that?
Well, it is a spoof. A good-natured spoof. I'm the only comedian who does spoofing anymore. A lot of other guys do satires and takeoffs and burlesques and parodies, but I'm spoofing it up. It's some people have assumed, since the title is somewhat like Jacques Brel is Alive and Well, that it is a satire on that. But I have never seen Jacques Brel is Alive and Well. I haven't even seen Jacques Brel himself. And as a matter of fact, he's neither alive nor well at the moment. But Seymour Glick is alive but sick. And we have, I've been told, in the audience this evening, somewhere out there, several members of our company. Are you out there, gang? Yeah.
The guy that sneezed earlier, I think, is one of them.
Would it be possible, in the interest of pleasing their grandmothers back home?
Yeah, I have to ask someone connected with the show, Steve.
Could we turn
take a
up
shot
the
of these
lights
folks?
for a moment?
Where there's a camera.
Could
back
you hold
up
up your... oh, there they are. There, yes. Hi, folks.
They seem to have quite a following already. The show hasn't opened yet.
Yeah, well, we're going to do it that way, because you never know after they open, you know. But no, they're very clever people, and the songs are funny. It's just a way of doing a bunch of silly songs that I'm too chicken to take credit for, so I attribute them to Seymour Glick.
Now, how long a review would this be when somebody shows up? How long are they going to be there?
Well, at the St. Regis, which is where we are opening, that is our out-of-town or off-Broadway, we are under strict instructions to hold it down to 55 minutes. When we get to Broadway, it's going to run for a week and a half. So we're doing a tab or mini version.
I see.
At the St. Regis. It's an interesting hotel. Most of the people in the hotel are, I have learned, it's a lovely hotel. Most of the occupants or residents are from other parts of the world. You may find this hard to believe, but I heard somebody in the lobby yesterday actually speak English. It was a very weird thing. So if these are the people that are going to constitute my audience evening by evening, it should be interesting.
Yeah. Now, you bring up an interesting point earlier, not that it was dangerous or even that dramatic, but we had somebody sneeze.
Yes.
Now, you used to do a television show out of New York City that was actually live. We taped
The Tonight Show, yes.
Yeah. Now, did you ever have anything really peculiar happen?
Well, yes, and we always, I did the same thing you did. I would take advantage of it. One night, after I had, on an earlier evening, delivered myself of a number of remarks on the subject of organized crime, our theater was actually stink-bombed. Stench bomb sounds better, doesn't it?
I don't know. Yeah. Stench. Yeah.
Stench bombed, but you never hear that.
Now, and you're saying that the stink bombing was the work of organized crime?
No, I said nothing of the sort. You just asked for a little evidence to substantiate your hypothesis, that's all. And I, genial collaborator that I am, went along.
Sure, yeah.
Sorry.
I tell you what, we're going to go away here for a commercial and or the water ski film, whichever they have loaded up. We'll be right back with Mr. Steve Allen. Steve Allen is here, and Carol Leifer will be joining us later. And you were talking about, or we were talking about New York audiences. They're different now. You said a lot of folks from around the world here.
Well, there is this image of the New York audience as ultra-sophisticated, and there is something to say for that. No, when I first came here in 1951 to work in television, coming from Los Angeles, everything had been easy, easy laughs out there. And I thought everyone in the New York audience would be like either Noel Coward or Gertrude Lawrence. But it was all Dorothy Miller here, too. It was the same.
Dorothy Miller being?
The lady who lives in studio audiences. She started her career many years ago with me. She did 5 years with Jack Parr, 20 years with Johnny, 14 years with Merv. She actually lives in studios and goes home about once a month to change clothes. And anyway, I use her name in a sort of a generic sense.
Yeah, you more or less did discover this woman, though, didn't you?
It might be so construed.
Have you ever seen the woman socially?
Believe it or not, she has been to our home.
Now that is although I don't know why it's hard to believe, but it is a little strange sounding.
Well, we weren't there at the time. I'm not taking any chance. No, seriously. No, we invited Dorothy. Dorothy's a lovely person. Hi, Dorothy, if you're out there. She came to our home with her sister some years ago, and we had a little afternoon tea and a little lunch. And
what's her sister like?
Very much like Dorothy.
But she doesn't go to shows.
Her sister doesn't go to shows. The weird thing is that when she used to go to the old original Tonight Show, which, as you've reminded us, was live, she was living at the time in Philadelphia. And I discovered that one night when noticing that she looked a little more haggard than usual. And I said something like, "How long does it take you to get home, Dorothy?" And, figuring she's going to say half an hour. She said 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
And I said, "Why is that? Is your car hard to get started or something?" And she said, "No, I live in Philadelphia." And I said, "You come to New York every night to see the show?" She said, "Yep." I rest my case.
So she's an original talk show groupie, so to speak.
Yes,
yeah.
Yes.
Now, when you were also doing the show here in New York City, you used material out of one of the local papers.
Letters to the editor,
Yeah,
you mean?
yeah.
Yes. For many years, I had noticed that the New York Daily News, we started this back about 30 years ago. There goes time. Anyway, I was reading these letters one day at home, and it occurred to me that the people who write them are furious. There's, too many pigeons, or let's get rid of the communists, or whatever the problem is. But very often when you read these letters, you yourself don't share the angry emotions that caused the letters to be written in the first place. And I thought there was something not quite right about that. I mean, if you were angry about anything and you wrote a letter to the New York Times or whatever,
absolutely,
you would want to make others as angry as you were on that issue. So I fill a void.
And you're going to do some of those tonight, but I understand there's one important change tonight.
Yes, we are here on an historic occasion. Ladies and gentlemen. No, it's the night I take my glasses off. No, for many years, for 30 years, I've been reading these letters from the New York Daily News.
Right.
And when your show staff asked me yesterday if I would do this, I said, "Oh, okay, but you'll have to send me about 25 copies of the Daily News," because I look through different issues and pick out crazy letters. They're all real letters. By mistake, someone on your staff sent me copies of the New York Post. And I thought at first I thought, whoops, can't do the bit. But I have been away for some time, and I find that now the Post has become very much like the old Daily News. Yeah. And Mr. Murdoch has wrought some changes.
All right, so with that historical footnote in mind,
Yes.
we're going to go away again, and then eventually we'll come back, and Steve Allen will read us some editorials from the New York City Post.
welcome back to the show. Thank you, Paul. And now, ladies and gentlemen, here is Steve Allen reading letters to the editor of the New York Post.
Thank you, David. Thank you. Again, in case you might have just tuned in late, these are actual editors, and I simply read them in the style in which they were written. First, I must put on my newspaperman's hat, of course, and that having been accomplished, we will proceed. The only thing we do is we change the names of the senders to prevent a punch in the mouth. So here we go. Several hundred collisions between bicyclists and pedestrians were reported last year alone. Yes. It seems that cyclists are becoming a menace on our city streets. Traffic rules apply to cyclists. They are expected to be considerate of people and of vehicles, to obey traffic signals and so forth. The police have one squad of 2 men. Yes, only that. Assigned to bike safety, and it is empowered to give out tickets. But 2 men cannot control bike abuse. Registration or licensing of cyclists may become necessary. Signed, Cheryl Teagues. Here's another one. It is evident from the soaring rates of VD, yes, that thus far sex education has been a conspicuous failure. Yes. I propose to initiate sex education at the age of 3.5. Yes. Then, by the 7th grade, the boys and girls will really know... will really know how the human sex machine works. Signed, the Pope. One more here. This is a very short one, but it's pithy and to the point. Good. If Vicki Morgan really loved Alfred Bloomingdale, as much as she claims, she would let the poor man rest in peace and stop publicizing their past love affair. And as for her palimony suit, she should drop it. Because from what I see, she loved his money and not the man himself. Signed, Lee Marvin. We'll take one more here. That's all I can stand. This so-called evacuation plan for getting people out of the city of New York in the event of a nuke attack is a joke. With our subway and bus system, boy, we're lucky to make it to work every day. It takes a taxi, bus, or car about 3/4 of an hour just to get across town. Can you imagine trying to get millions and millions of people out of this city in a hurry? Signed, Mantan Moreland.
Just settle down here. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Are you leaving now? Steve Allen, what are you doing? Oh, that's all. Steve Allen. That's the world's largest vase there. My first guest tonight will be presenting a 2-week engagement of Steve Allen, A Man and His Music, starting this very evening at Michael's Pub here in New York City. Please welcome back Mr. Steve Allen, folks.
Looking for one of my props.
Oh,
go ahead.
All right.
I can't stand up alone. I have to be propped up.
Did you find your... Oh, you're looking for your whistle.
Yeah.
Tell me about the engagement at Michael's Pub. For folks who don't know New York City, what is Michael's Pub and what are you going to be doing there?
Well, I'll tell you about the whole engagement. I was recently divorced from Jane, and I was standing at Michael's Pub the other night, and a young woman there and I got engaged. So that is about all there is to explain on that. Just wanted to see if you Inquirer readers were awake this time of night. No, Jane and I are very happily married. I have not gotten engaged to anybody at Michael's Pub. I'm playing a concert of my own. Oh, sorry. Playing a concert of my own jazz music. Who's to stop me?
No, no one will stop you. But heretofore, have you been known as a jazz musician or as a popular musician?
Do you notice how my ears went up just when you said the word heretofore?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, that's my kind of language.
Those are my kind of ears. I don't know. I know.
After heretofore, I blocked it all out, the rest of it out. Really, I don't know what the rest of you mouth said.
The thrust of the question was...
thrust. Get me a blackboard, please. How do you like my hair?
That's very nice.
Ted Koppel did it.
Now, what do you suppose is the deal on his hair?
He is the guy from Mad Magazine.
No. But he has an interesting-looking haircut.
Yeah, he's brilliant. I love him. Yeah. But he does have funny hair.
Well, they did a whole show one night where he explained it. And I
really?
Missed it. Yeah, I missed it.
Darn.
Yeah. Now, you're going to be... I can't even remember. No. Jazz versus popular music.
Yes. I write a lot of jazz. And every so often I go into a jazz club, get a big band or a small group, as the case may be, and wail.
And that's what you'll be doing tonight, eh?
Not at the moment, but yeah, I'll be. This very night, I opened already. We can use the past tense.
Yeah, in fact, you're probably down at Sardi's waiting for the reviews right now, aren't you?
Yes, and it's closed, so it's lonesome there.
Tell me about a statement that you had a bet with a singer about the most congested area of show business, and you said that it was songwriting.
Frankie Lane.
Yeah, Frankie Lane.
Yes. Well, this goes back many years. Frankie and I, he was a guest on the show one night, and we were discussing the plight. That's heretofore, thrust, and plight. Great words. The plight of the amateur songwriter. And I said the problem is not the writing song. Millions of people can do that. But what do you do with it after you write it? I said there were maybe 4 or 5 million people in the country who could write songs. Even if everyone was as good as Cole Porter, there isn't a large enough market to accommodate such output. And I said you could write 350 songs in a week, but what good would it do you? He said, well, no, you couldn't. And I said, oh, well, now that you bring it up, yes, I could. So I did. I had to, having opened up my mouth. I sat in the window of Music City, a then popular record store in Hollywood, at the corner of Sunset and Vine, and wrote 350 songs.
No.
Yes.
What kind of schedule was this? 8 hours a day?
No, I was actually there only 1 hour a day. I would have been happy to stretch it out, except one could not stop to put the notes on paper. That would have taken a long time. So I simply recorded them into a tape, and the tapes were 1 hour in length, so I wrote 50 songs per hour.
Oh. And now, what constitutes a song? Give me an example of what you put on the tape.
If I had a piano, I would be happy to.
Oh, you needed a piano. Oh, I'm
yes,
sorry.
I did it.
But these weren't like major works, obviously.
I didn't make up the songs like this. You know, I actually had to, you know, they're pounding on my head.
I see. Now, lyrics also?
No. That can take time.
Yeah.
See, a melody is the equivalent of a verbal statement. You can say, I'm going to the store and buy 3 bananas. That's a verbal statement. And it is literally that easy, for me at least, and I guess for a lot of composers, to do the musical equivalent of that. So it comes under the heading of no big deal.
Oh, I see. Now, have any of these songs that were composed in that circumstance, have we heard from any of those since?
This is going to sound like a very stupid answer. I don't know, because I only went back and listened to the tapes about 2 weeks after I did them. I still have them. I should get them out. And I don't know. The reason I don't know is because I compose too much. And it's entirely possible that last Thursday, somehow, my computer up there remembered some melody that was number 219 on the list.
As far as you know, nobody said, I like that one, Steve, let me record it?
No one else has ever heard them except some bystanders and gawkers and rubberneckers.
Did you see my ears go up when you said gawkers?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
I was hoping you'd go for rubberneckers. You don't run into rubberneckers anymore.
Oh, I do, on the way home, every
Really?
night. Oh, you have to beat them off with a stick, and it's unpleasant. Well, you
Stick
beat them
beaters.
with a rubber stick, so it makes them... I want to talk about 2 other projects, these 2 albums that you produced a while back. And we'll talk about other things. Steve Allen and I and Ted Koppel will all be right back. gentlemen, welcome back to the program. Mr. Steve Allen is here. Let's talk about these two albums. First of all, Steve, tell me about this one, The Discovery of Buck Hammer.
Well, we're not plugging these records because they've been out of commission, out of sales for many years. They are both put-ons. What the two albums have in common, I'll explain quickly since you asked about this one. It's, as you can see, called The Discovery of Buck Hammer. And Buck was a black boogie-woogie specialist. Sorry, I got the wrong angle for you there. Thank you. Heavy-set gentleman with a cigar, and he specialized in boogie-woogie playing from Glen Springs, Alabama, and he died not long after making this album some years ago. And the jazz critics gave it raves. The New York Herald Tribune jazz critic said Hammer's death was a tragic loss to the world of American jazz. And after the album had been out a few weeks, then it was finally revealed that there was no such person. I had recorded the track.
The whole thing was a hoax, huh?
It was a hoax, a put-on, yeah. But the jazz critics loved me as long as they thought I was black and dead.
What year was that?
I don't know, probably 1957 or so.
It must have sold as well as a jazz album sells, I guess.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. Yeah, right.
Well, no, I don't. Now the boys over there in the band are all moaning, but jazz probably would not sell as well as some other modern mainstream music.
No, you're absolutely right. Yeah. Rock, you make a million copies of that, and probably all the Oscar Peterson albums haven't sold that much. He's magnificent. Most of them are not, but that's show business, you know.
Now, here is another.
Yes, this was a follow-up, emboldened by my earlier success. That's 7 great words tonight. I followed that up with this one. Now, in this case, you can say, wait a minute, if you're attentive. The other was just a sketch. We can fake a sketch. There's an actual human being there.
That's right.
Indeed, there is. The album, as you see, was titled The Wild Piano of Mary Ann Jackson. Again, there was no such person. I did the playing, but the lovely woman who was pictured there was our housekeeper at the time. Truly, she's passed away since then, not because of the album. I mean, but
or any mistreatment on your part.
No. We got along great. But she got all dressed up. I just explained the thing to her, and I said, would you like to pose for the cover, you know, Mary? And she said, I'd love it. So she got all dressed up, and she's wearing one of Jane's necklaces there. And Mary did not know anything about the piano, so, you know, she didn't have to do any playing. She just sat there at the piano. We took these cover pictures. And again, we wrote some very scholarly, stuffy liner notes. Said she played with a sort of a masculine authority and great originality. Now, in this case, I was putting on people who pretend to understand players like, say, Thelonious Monk, and really don't, but are afraid to say they don't because they don't want to seem unhip. So I was putting on jazz critics and some jazz players and stuff, and I deliberately played. I got a great rhythm section, and we all went, boom, ooh, oh, ooh. You know, everything was swinging, and then I played garbage with my right hand. You know? But it was swinging garbage, you know? And again, the jazz critics and everybody loved it.
Yeah.
Most of the notes made no sense at all. You know.
And later they found out this was also a hoax perpetrated by you?
Yeah. I also masqueraded for several years. This will really come as a shock. I am Elvis Presley, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm not dead after all.
I like this closing line on the liner notes. Currently, Miss Jackson is studying in Copenhagen, but on the basis of this dazzling first showing, it is devoutly to be wished that she is invited to return to the United States for additional recording and, even better, a series of personal appearances.
Yeah. There's just one more quick thing that I'd forgotten about. There was, in one of the jazz magazines, I won't embarrass the people by saying which one, they gave her a good, favorable review. It was like an 82 on a 0 to 100 scale. So I sent my secretary out to get some feminine-looking stationery with the name Mary Ann Jackson stamped on the top on lovely blue paper. And then I wrote a letter at the typewriter, and then I handed it to one of my secretaries. I said, in your lovely feminine handwriting, put this letter on this piece of paper. So she wrote an angry letter to the editor of the jazz thing, thanking him for his compliments, but taking exception to some of his negative comments. And they printed the letter. So...
That's interesting. Now, but a nasty stunt to be playing. We don't have time to talk about the big pie fight, or do we? Can you tell us about the major pie fight you had in a minute?
No, just once. We passed out 400 pies to our studio audience, and at a signal, they all creamed each other. That's all there is to that story.
But
I told it in 12 seconds.
You
which
did very well.
I think is the record.
It might be.
Yeah.
Okay, well, good enough. I was hoping for a little embellishment on the pie story, but since we're out of time, it don't make any difference.
So that's embellishment. You started with heretofore and you finished with embellishment. I think you've done a wonderful job.
And sent people storming for their thesauruses. Stephen, have a great engagement at Michael's Pub. Nice to see you as always. Thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you very much.
Steve Allen, folks. We'll be right back. Don't you worry about a thing. And the band, ladies and gentlemen. We have a wonderful program planned. Paul, look, bubbles. One more time on the bubbles. You won't see these ever again, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight we're putting the bubbles to rest. I've said it before. I'll say it till I die. You can't do a proper TV show without a bubble machine.
Bubbles are bubbles.
And how about a little radioactive steam? There you go. One day, all talk shows will be like this. I guess it was about 5 years ago, writers on this program started coming up with ideas to put me in various suits and dunk me in things. We got that idea originally from shows that Steve Allen did many, many, many years ago, where they would put Steve Allen in like a tea bag suit and then dunk him in water, and they would make hundreds of thousands of gallons of iced tea with Steve Allen. And so we thought, let's try some things like that as sort of, well, obviously to steal a good idea. That was first and foremost. And then if we get caught, we'll say, well, it was a tribute and a salute to Steve Allen. And that seemed to work pretty well for us.
It was a loving tribute.
Yeah. But like everything else, one idea kind of kicked off another idea, and we kept doing these little things, and they're all me in wacky suits, and I'm not sure when the first one was, but we have a couple on videotape. Hal, roll that videotape. Tonight is human sponge night. Oh, my goodness. Go ahead. And kind of an historical note, when I'm in the giant cereal bowl and I'm being doused with milk, that's the only time on the show you ever saw my feet.
I think you're right about that.
Have we introduced our friends sitting in with the band tonight? Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Was that it?
There they are.
Sure. Yeah. You know, when Paul and I started doing this show in the morning back at CBS in 1980 or something, you weren't on the morning show.
I was not, no.
What was the problem there?
Couldn't get up that early.
That's right. But, and so we needed to do a
We were at NBC, back at NBC.
That's right, the morning show, and that lasted, how long did that last?
No, I don't remember, because I wasn't on it.
As long as one of your naps.
Thank you.
You know, I'll tell you, those are the days when I could talk.
Yeah.
Talk? Hey, Dale, Roy, wait for me. Now,
Andy Devine.
Andy Devine, exactly. Had nothing to do with Roy and Dale. Thinking of Smiley Burnett. He had nothing to do with him either. Who am I thinking of?
No, Andy Devine
He had
did,
a beard.
yeah.
Leave me alone.
Right.
Now,
So we needed a show to do. So what we would do on that show, and then later on the old late night show, we would steal all of our ideas from the old Steve Allen show.
Absolutely.
And he did, like, I don't know, several shows. He did a show at opposite the Ed Sullivan Show on NBC.
Right.
And then he did a late night show. He did the Tonight Show.
Yes.
And then he did another late night show that was syndicated.
He was the first guy to have Elvis on, I
That's
believe.
right.
Yeah.
Exactly right. And he had a lot of good ideas, because in those days in television, you had plenty of time and no money, and he was terrific because he was endlessly resourceful and gifted and had a great mind for stuff to do on television. And so we just said, well, heck, let's just steal all of those great ideas. And we did. And to our credit, and this is the only thing for which we deserve credit,
Yeah.
when we did that, we would say, here's something Steve Allen used to do, and we would make sure that he got mentioned whenever we would do something stupid like that. Well, he passed away yesterday.
Yeah.
We found out that he died. Yeah, it's too bad.
Yeah.
78 years old, though. Pretty good. Pretty good. And a guy who leaves quite a legend for himself in the world of television.
I'll say.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Steve Allen. And all I got is a thing I can't talk around. That'll be my legend. Well, some nights he had trouble talking. That'll be Ted Koppel. Assembles a panel of my peers. Yes, Jay?
Yeah, well, some nights he couldn't talk, and the thing is, he couldn't talk, and so I had to know what that was. Yeah, there's room for everybody. There's room for everybody, whether you can talk or not. There's plenty of room for everybody. Isn't that right, Mavis? Yeah, that's right.